I know we're all anxious to get into garden planning, but I think there's one thing that's more important to having a successful garden this year, and that's the tools that you're going to use to garden. The reason this is especially important for me is I have chronic pain. I have arthritis. I've had it for about 10 years now. It affects my hands, not only in terms of pain, but in terms of weakness that I experience. So having tools that are comfortable and easy to grip is essential for me. I'm gonna walk you through all the tools that I use. I'm also gonna tell you kind of my strategy for daily maintenance versus seasonal maintenance. I don't think I have to tell you why a trowel is important. I will tell you to get one that has kind of this beveled edge, almost like a blade. And the next one is going to be this Japanese hoe. This is extremely sharp. I use this for breaking up weeds, cutting through the roots themselves. I don't really do any tilling, but this is great if you do need to kind of loosen up the dirt in some spots. When you're looking for a handle that's going to be ergonomic, I'm sure you'd love something that's actually cushioned. Unfortunately, in a lot of cases, those foam cushions aren't very long lasting. They tend to deteriorate in sunlight, which is why I go for these wooden handles. They hold up really well, and they do have a bit of a curve to them. So they almost have like that hand carved feel. A couple small things that I consider garden tools, you may consider garden accessories, plant labels. You don't need to get fancy with these. Then if tying tons of knots for trellises is uncomfortable for you like it is for me, or just generally time consuming, this Velcro plant tape is going to make all the difference. I love this stuff. You can custom fit it to any size that you need. You can reuse it. For harvesting, I generally stick with these FELCO clippers, just really lightweight and simple. And when you're harvesting, that's exactly what you want. Up until recently, the FELCO F2s was my #1 pick for pruning and clipping anything larger, and I still love them. Last year, FELCO reached out to me. They had heard about my arthritis and they wanted to see if I would try something new that they had come out with, and it's been a game changer. These are the FELCO 15s. I actually have really unusually tiny hands, so these ones fit okay, but they're a little bit extra work for me. So these come in a small and a large size. What's really, really amazing about these clippers is the handle. This handle rotates, which takes so much of the pressure off of your hand, you would not believe it. The first time I did it, I practically cried because it made such a huge difference in how comfortable the grip was. Obviously, this being a smaller size, it does have a slightly smaller blade than the F2, so I still keep the F2s around. They're great for larger projects. I mean, I could do this for hours. It wouldn't hurt me. So these ones don't need any maintenance right now. As for these tools, my general rule of thumb is I'm trying to keep them as clean as possible throughout my daily tasks so that I don't really get to this point where they're super dirty. I'm sure you have also had the humbling moment where you realize that you left a tool outside in the rain. Last year, I came up with a solution. I have a container outside that I can keep them in. It's actually connected to my raised bed so I can just drop them and go. I think the most important thing here is reducing that friction, right? Making it super accessible, super easy. Something like a mailbox mounted somewhere can be a really great affordable solution. Once things get to a point where they do need to be cleaned off, simple things like your trowel, I will really just brush this off with a dry rag. Same goes for my hose and rakes. Once we get into things that have blades, it gets a little bit more complicated. Something like this FELCO 905 sharpener. It's really great all-purpose sharpener when you've got tools with blades that you need to be maintaining. All right, let's start with our clippers. So for these, they've just got some plant residue built up on the blades themselves that I want to clean off. In terms of daily maintenance with these, I am sanitizing the blades with an alcohol wipe pretty much every time that I use them. And that's because we don't want to be transferring any diseases from one plant to another. So for example, last year I had an experience with black rot on my grapes, which can transfer to other plants. And thankfully, when I discovered this, I didn't have to panic because I knew I had taken care of sanitizing those blades before using them on any other plants. For something like this, where it's really only cutting through really lightweight plant material, you're not going to notice a lot of burrs on the blades themselves most of the time, but you can always do a quick sharpen just to give them a fresh edge. Looking at these F2s, they're not looking as bad as I kind of thought they would end up being. So I think we can kind of get away with just sharpening these and cleaning up the outside. A couple general pointers if you do need to take these apart. Never use water, always use some kind of oil-based lubricant cleaner. Take a photo beforehand before you get all these little pieces off so that you know how it goes back together. So we're dealing with a very sharp blade here, so we want to make sure that we're holding things in a secure manner. I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but there is a small burr on the blade side, so I will show you how to sharpen it after we kind of wipe everything down. And just to sanitize these blades, I'm coming through with an alcohol swab. I'm wiping away from the sharp edge. Already looks so much better. If you were to take apart the internal mechanism here, underneath this piece is where you would apply your lubricating oil. But for today, I think all we're gonna do is just get this blade sharpened up. We want a nice, firm, safe grip on this. We're gonna use the flat part of our sharpening stone here to do quick downward motion. That burr is not catching anymore. I feel a lot better about where things are at for my tools. If you have any specific questions about the tools that I used or how I maintain them, let me know in the comments. Thanks for gardening with me and happy growing.